Wakenya waliorejea nchini kutoka Tanzania wameongea kuhusu masaibu waliopitia mikononi mwa serikali ya Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan. Walisema serikali iliwadhulumu ikidai ndio waliochochea maandamano nchini humo wakati wa uchaguzi mkuu mnamo Oktoba 29. Akiongea kwa mara ya kwanza na wanahabari jana jijini Nairobi baada ya kurejea nyumbani kutoka Tanzania, mfanya biashara mmoja aliomba tulibane jina lake. Alisema yeye na wengine waliteswa na kuzuiliwa kwa siku 8 kwa kosa la kuwa wa Kenya. Literally their crime was being Kenyan. Haya, mfanya biashara huyo alisema kuwa alikuwa ameratibishwa kusafiri nyumbani mnamo Oktoba 31. Hata hivyo, alipokuwa akiondoka, alisimamishwa katika kimoja cha vizuizi vya wanajeshi vilivyokuwa vimewekwa katika wakati wa maandamano. Haya, akasema nukuu hapa, vituo vyote vya petroli vilikuwa vimefungwa. Watu hawakuwa wakisafiri kwani hakukuwa na magari na uchukuzi. Baada ya kuzimwa kwa interneti, teksi zinazotumia mitandao hazikuwa zikifanya kazi. Kwa hivyo, uliachwa na afua mbili, utumie baiskeli au pikipiki. Na tuko na nukuu kutoka kwa mfanya biashara huyu. I just want to hear from him first of all, because he says their only crime was being Kenyan. Let's listen in.
So they keep my passport for now. During this time, they also took my phone but handed it back. During this time, I can chat my family. I'm telling them we have a small stop by the army because there isn't much. And I have all my documents. So about an hour later, a police car comes. And that's when things escalate. And they escalated in about 5 minutes. It was very quick. They come, stop us there, stand, and then they're handed the passports to the passport here, and then the guy cocks his gun and comes to me and tells me, get into the car. So I get into the car, then puts me in a blindfold. So at that point I'm thinking,
while in the car?
Yeah, in the car. I'm thinking, am I a terrorist? Why am I being held like this? I mean, I have all my documents. I've explained myself. And by then I had already explained why I'm in Tanzania, why I'm heading out, why I'm out, and that I'm heading to the airport. So they know all this. Anyway, next we're taken to a police station, during which period we asked to frog jump into the police station, which was rather interesting. And after being taken to the police station, that's when a bit of the beatings were given. So you're asked, lala kifudi-fudi, so you sleep flat. They beat you up. At that point, they're beating everyone up. You don't even understand why you're being beaten up. They take us to the CID's office. The CIDs are more than happy to see that it's a foreigner, more specifically that it's a Kenyan. So they all stop their work and come to see. And much later is when you learn that the news that had gotten to the police station was that there are Kenyans who are part of the protests who are running away. Right? That's the news that was shared back.
By the time that letter was being written, there was already communication that, they had already agreed on what needs to be done. And that particular communication was merely to cover up and to make it appear as if there's been diplomatic follow-ups to address the concern. It is disappointing because normally you would expect them to share best practices. But in this case, they are showing and very clearly communicating that they will work together at any costs to ensure that the civic space is diminished in the region and that human rights violations become the norm.
I call him Afande. I want you to tell us kama ni vizuri ama kama ni vibaya. Tunatoka hapa lini? Vitu vyetu viko sawa, tuko na kibali, hati zetu ziko sawa. Shida ni gani? And he tells us, mambo yenu ni magumu, ipo na wakubwa. Lakini kutoka hapa labda wiki mbili hivi. And I'm like, what do you mean wiki mbili? what are we being charged with? What is our mistake? Because in my head, I know that, okay, Wikimbili how, because tomorrow now it's on Sunday, tomorrow is on Monday. So in my head, I knew on Monday, we are definitely going to be presented in court. Our charges will be read to us. If we are being bailed out, we are being bailed out. But now it turns out that we might not even make it to the courts. So after he says, mpo hapa for labda wiki mbili hivi, I did not want to listen to him again. I just stepped back, went and climbed where I was sleeping, put my head down. That's the first time that I cried. We stayed in the, first I stayed in the hotel for 2 nights, and then we stayed in the cells for 8 nights.
That is what Kenyans in Tanzania have been going through. We've heard from 2 Kenyans who were in Tanzania around the election period, who were essentially arrested without cause, even after, presenting all relevant documents. One was arrested while trying to exit Tanzania. He had a flight booked for October 31st, gets to what looks like a routine police check, and they see the passports, and suddenly they're calling for reinforcements. And he ends up, in jail, being beaten. Same for the second one, ends up in jail. How long? What am I being charged with? Mambo yenu ni magumu, iko na wakubwa. That's what Kenyans are going through. Sina comment. I think I've ranted about this enough. And we could already tell that there was a big lapse in protecting Kenyans in Tanzania when these elections were happening, because there was really nothing happening. There was no call, there was nothing being done by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to secure citizens, except saying that Kenyans who want to leave Tanzania are free to leave, because clearly, transport was regular and everything was normal and the internet was on. So if they just wanted, they could book a flight or take a bus and just leave the country. It's incredibly callous.
It is. And I think, like we said at the beginning of this show, is what's happening in the region. Another huge issue with what we've seen these people go through is the rise of xenophobia, and I think that needs to be discussed. And I think rights groups have already been sounding the alarm of xenophobic attacks towards Kenyans. And I really hope that as a region, we don't turn on each other because our leaders are gaslighting citizens of various countries. But these are xenophobic attacks. This is xenophobia in its plainest form. And the fact that you don't have
government-sponsored xenophobia.
Government-sponsored, that's the worst kind, is, starting by saying, ni wageni ndio wameleta hii. Of course, it will trickle down to why these men went through what they did, and the Kenyans, and hopefully we'll get as many of them to safety. But what happens for the ones who remain there? What happens to those who are, even if we do it the other way around, Tanzanians who are here, Tanzanians in Uganda, Kenyans in Uganda. The region cannot now start being taken into this side of xenophobia. It can also fracture what we could do together as a region, as people, as rights groups.
Very true.
So that is a huge concern.